Can you make money driving with Uber in 2022? Is it still worth it? This is a follow-up video to a video that I made a couple months ago, over 100,000 views, widely popular, on the strategies and tips that would lead to higher earning in the ride-sharing business. This is in regards to the response of, if Uber doesn't pay a lot, why are there so many folks continuing to drive for the ride-sharing companies, Uber and Lyft? Well, I'm going to go into that, and the first thing I will tell you is that there is a lot of dishonesty in earnings. I've been a rideshare driver off and on since 2014, so you're talking 7 years plus in the business. I believe I have enough experience in this game to give you some honest opinions. Now, Uber and Lyft themselves started out lying. So before I get to folks who responded in my video, and the response to my video was overwhelmingly positive. However, it was in the video as well. But Uber, here's an article, for instance, Business Insider from 2014, where Uber claimed that its drivers were making between $75,000 and $90,000 a year. They didn't say special drivers, higher earnings, the top 1%. They said their drivers were making between $75,000 and $90,000 annually. That is a lie, period. I was driving back then, and I know that those earnings were very difficult to obtain under anything resembling normal circumstances. Now, this is 2014. However, just a couple months ago, you had the CEO of Uber claiming that drivers in modern times, right now, are averaging $39 an hour. So I just wanted to point out to you that the lying has continued throughout Uber and Lyft's tenure. And make no mistake about it, here is an article right here suggesting that Uber has had to pay out $20 million for inflating earnings. So they got caught and had to actually pay out $1 million settlement, $20 million, for lying about how much drivers earn. So when you wonder, well, why don't people keep getting involved in this if it pays so low? It's because they are giving you a carrot and stick approach. The carrot makes you take the bite, and then you realize, this is bullshit, I'm not earning that. But by then, you may have quit your job, because a lot of folks will be willing to give up their job if they could make $90,000 a year driving people around in their car. It's just not true. Now, in reality, for folks who have been driving off and on, like I have, in between jobs or whatever, which I haven't driven in months, but here's a 2018 article. 2018, several years after Uber had been around, making it clear that in 5 years, their salaries have dropped by 53%. Drivers at that time were earning 53% less than they were in 2013. And it's even lower now when you adjust it for inflation and things like that. When you look at the amount or the percentage that Uber takes out of salaries. This is why I had my previous video giving you strategies how to earn money still, despite all of this crap happening. And despite all of the advice I gave, which was overwhelmingly viewed as positive and valuable by most folks in the comment section, well over 1,000 comments, about 100,000 folks viewed the video in only a couple of months. I encourage you to watch that video as well. It'll give you a lot of tips and strategies if you're in this game. Because listen, the job market can be challenging. This is a potential way of earning money in between jobs. And it can work if you follow some of those strategies I listed. And by the way, I highly encourage you to follow the channel, or better yet, subscribe to the page. This is kind of some of the things we talk about on these broadcasts. Here is a comment I want to read to you. This is the bullshit I'm talking about, coming from one of the folks who viewed my previous video on how to earn money in 2022 driving for Uber and whether or not it was worth it. This individual said, I've been driving since 2016 part-time. I make about $45,000 a year. I also have a full-time job. I do Uber and Lyft days off and weekends. So I make it work for me as a side hustle. First of all, what is part-time? 3 to 6 hours a day? 3 to 6 hours a day doing ride sharing. You're going to make $45,000 a year. This is what I'm talking about. If Uber pays so low, why do people continue driving for Uber and Lyft? Well, when you got somebody saying that they can drive part-time and make $45,000 a year, that is going to encourage people to look into this. Even though that is highly unlikely and absolutely impossible for the overwhelming amount of drivers in virtually every market. 3 to 6 hours a day or whatever you deem part-time is, and you're going to make $45,000 a year, which would obviously mean if you work full-time, you're making close to 6 figures. Doing rideshare. Is there anyone who believes that? Here's another viewer of my previous YouTube video. I get what you're saying. I talked to this individual about the increase in maintenance costs when doing rideshare, because he was talking about how much money he made, and I pointed out your maintenance is going to go up, and you're excluding. He gave his numbers, and his numbers did not include any additional costs for maintenance. He only mentioned fuel, which is a mistake a lot of rideshare drivers make. Here is his response to me. I get what you are saying about car maintenance, but you have to do these things anyway. If you drive for Uber or not, plus with Uber, you work on your own time. You don't have to answer anyone. This is why people go bankrupt, folks. This individual suggested that you're going to have to do car maintenance whether you work for Uber or not, which is essentially saying Uber and Lyft has no bearing on your car maintenance. You're going to have to do that anyway. Totally oblivious to the fact that Uber and Lyft exaggerates how much car maintenance you're going to have to do by multiples. I mean, how often are you changing tires? You're going to need an oil change probably once a month now. I mean, all of this stuff is increased significantly. But this person is suggesting that, well, you're going to have to do maintenance anyway. So clearly, that individual is on the road to bankruptcy, or at the very least, poor recording of numbers, because he doesn't even realize driving for Uber and Lyft is going to alter maintenance costs. And in addition to that, he followed up by saying, you work on your own time, you don't have to answer to anyone. Anyone who's been in the ride-sharing business knows that if you drive for Uber and Lyft, you do have to answer to folks. Your ratings matter. If you cancel too many trips, you can be taken off the platform. If the customers get mad and report you, it doesn't matter if you got a 5-star rating. Customer says some bullshit about you, you can be taken completely off the platform. The idea that you do not have to answer to anyone in this business is a false statement. And Uber and Lyft are the ones that propagate that statement and pass that around. But you do have to answer to people. And by the way, let me make something clear, because in my previous video, I talked about sometimes it's in your best interest to leave a passenger. If you're doing 3 rides, get $25 or something like that. Lyft counts that half leg of a trip as a ride. So let's say you want to do your 3 rides and you're going to go home. You've done 2, you're waiting on your 3rd. That passenger gets in your car and they have to stop at a gas station somewhere. Once you stop and do that half leg and they get out at that gas station, Lyft counts that as a trip. You've gotten your bonus. From that point on, when they come out of the gas station, you're going to be paid 60, 70 cents a mile or some ridiculous rate, which is what you normally get. You don't have to be out there waiting for them. I suggested that, and folks started talking about, well, they're going to give you bad ratings and all of this thing. Let me make something clear. You drive for money, not for ratings. I understand that if your ratings get low enough, you can be taken from the platform. So it is a balancing game. However, there is no benefit to having a 5.0 rating versus a 4.5. It's not much of a benefit there. And at the end of the day, you may actually have to do a lot more work to maintain that 5.0 rating versus the guy with the 4.5. So I'm just letting you know, keep in mind, you drive for money. You can't pay your cell phone bill or your rent with stars and ratings. That shit should take a backseat to earning money. If you think a customer is going to give you 1 star, but trying to get the 5 stars is going to cost you 10 miles of extra driving that you don't want to do, or sitting around waiting for somebody for 20 minutes, you have to figure what's more valuable to you. Your time and your money, or an extra star. And better yet, it's not even going to be a star, because if you got hundreds of rides, 1 bad rating is not going to affect it that much. If you got 1,000 rides under your belt and you're working with a 4.9 rating, 1 bad rating is not going to drop that much. So keep that in mind. Also, there is significant amounts of driver shortages in a lot of markets. If you show up with a 4.5 or 4.6 rating, people are going to still get in your car. A lot of places, they're lucky to even get a car. Or they may have been waiting 15, 20 minutes. They're not going to let you pass them by to get another 0.2 of a star. So don't let Uber and Lyft bully you when it comes to these stars and ratings and all of this stuff. You can maintain it to some degree, but at the end of the day, like I just stated before, it doesn't pay your bills. Here's the last one before we end this video. I do this full time and make $350 a day weekdays to $550 a day on a weekend. And the best part is I only spend $30 or less per day only doing Uber X. Now, this person has a hybrid vehicle, so obviously hybrids require less in fuel. But $30 a day in fuel, and you're going to turn a profit of $550, or you're going to gross $550. This is the stuff you get that leads new drivers, hard on cash, in between jobs, desperate for money, to think, well, I can make decent money doing this. This stuff right here is akin to winning a lottery and telling other folks all you got to do is play and you'll be okay too. This is virtually unachievable in the overwhelming majority of markets out there. You're not going to drive and consistently make $550 a day on the weekend or $350 a day on a weekday, unless you're driving the entire damn day and you're sleeping in your car. So anytime someone asks, well, you know, if Uber and Lyft's rates are that bad, why do people keep driving for them? Stuff like what you're seeing here in my comment section. It's stuff you're getting from the top management at Uber and Lyft, inflating salaries and lying to people. And make no mistake about it, I just want to end the video by saying this. For those who write in the comments of how much they're earning and how they figured it out and it works for them, one of the main reasons a lot of folks in this ride sharing business are not making money is because no matter what you do, Uber and Lyft are constantly trying to find a way to get you to do it for less. So if you come up with a perfect strategy, how many of you in the audience were making good money with bonuses and surges that had been around for a while, and all of a sudden they took them away? That's what I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make to you is that no matter what you figure out, there are bean counters at Uber and Lyft trying to find a way to lower your take and increase theirs. So you may come up with the perfect solution to make money, and before you know it, you wake up one day and you find out where their take's going to go up by 2 or 3%, or they're doing this where they got it where you got to do ride sharing, so 2 people get in the car now. I mean, they're constantly doing different things like that, cutting surges, cutting bonuses, removing promos. So no matter, even if you figure out the right formula, all it takes is one change of service agreement coming from Uber or Lyft, and you'll be realizing I'm not making what I used to. They changed something here or there. If you've been around as long as I have with these companies, off and on, you've seen plenty of change of service agreements. Hence the inflated earnings settlements and the fact that they're paying 53% less on average to drivers over a 5-year period. So just want to let you guys know that. Let me know in the comments where you think I'm getting it wrong, or is this very similar to your experience in your market? Have you seen change of service agreements that had a negative effect on your earnings? Now, I have never seen one that had a positive effect, such as ride sharing, whereas you pick up one person and you drive down the road and the second person jumps in and goes along that trip, now you got two people in the car. You're not getting anything extra for that. Lyft and Uber is. So it's stuff like that that affects your earnings. Working twice as hard for the same pay. Let me know if you've seen any of this in the comments. And once again, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that. Certainly appreciate you guys' comments. Catch you in the next video.